Hello, everybody. I just wanted to have a quick second to let you guys know how much it means to me that you are my sponsor. SRP Studios, The Real Hernando, The Rhythm Section, Hardwick, Heating, Cooling, and Air Quality, Estes, Grading, Hodge Homes, Adair, Honey Farm, Miss Hippie Eats, Phones R Us, Ross, Sod Farms and Landscaping, Ivy Rain, Women's Clinic, Tonic POS by Tyler Young, and Coffee Central. Thank you guys so much for being a sponsor. If you'd like to be a sponsor, go to my website now, motivatecoachcamp.com, and click on the button. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, this is going to be it. This is the second part of Juno and Kristina's journey. They go into all the things that they're facing right now with cancer and the treatments and what she's actually physically going through, what their mental state is. This is going to be so impactful. I'm going to ask you guys, please share this episode. Share it with as many people as you can. I want this as many eyes as possible out there. This is going to help people. This is going to save lives. I do truly believe that. So I'm going to ask you guys, come on in, sit down, buckle up, and here's part 2 of Juno and Kristina. Let's go now to the moment where you go to my friend Jenny, your friend Jenny, a person that was actually on my show before. I don't know how many months back. If you want to go see Jenny Finch, she's a couple episodes back. And tell me a little bit about that moment of what made you decide to go get a full checkup.
Okay.
And what your thought process was.
When we got married, we made the decision we weren't going to have children together. We had, he was like, I'm good. I don't want any more. I was like, I'm still kind of young. But then I moved in with him and I was like, okay, 3's enough. You're right. So we had an agreement. I was like, I don't want to take birth control. So I got off birth control. He got a vasectomy and we got our golden retriever. And that's a
round compromise.
Literally,
there.
It was amazing. So, so I haven't had a pap smear since then.
And what year was that?
2014.
And you're supposed to get those once a year?
And now there's a reason why. It's because I've never had any issues. I wasn't on birth control. I wasn't having any more kids. My cycles have always been normal. It's not the kind of thing where, just because you don't have cavities doesn't mean you don't need to get your teeth cleaned, right? I should have been going. I didn't have it on my priority list because I wasn't in need of a women's doctor at that time in my life.
Sure.
And so I started spotting about a year ago, and it was the kind of thing where I was like, my hormones are changing again. I was like, I'm getting close to 40. I'm 37 now. So I was like, perimenopause, when your progesterone gets out of whack, it can cause spotting. And I was like, I'm like, how many times did I say I really need to go get my hormones checked? I need a pap smear, but I just kept going, my hormones, I've got to go get my hormones checked. Like I can feel things starting to change,
So did you have any other symptoms besides just the one sign? Nothing else? Nope. So no mood swings or hot flashes or anything like that?
Nothing, no.
So I think this part is important to kind of put a stamp on here. Here you have a person that's health-minded. You've been working out for a very long time now at this point in your life, and you were judging according to problems or issues that may or may not be there. So ultimately, I think this speaks to probably just about every human being that's alive.
Yes.
If we don't feel like we have a problem, we don't feel like we need to get anything looked at. And I can't tell you how many times as a paramedic, I have had conversations with people and I'm checking them for the first time and they're 45 years old and they have high blood pressure and their heart rhythm is all out of whack. And I'm like, when's the last time you went to your personal physician? Oh, I don't go to a doctor.
Yeah.
So it's not your story is more normal than abnormal is what I would tell you.
And we normally like to brag about the fact that we don't go to the doctor because we don't. We're both self-employed. We've always been self-pay. We've never had insurance because we're both self-employed. It never made sense for us to pay for insurance for self-employed individuals. We just pay cash for everything, And again, I think people think that I wasn't going to the doctor because I couldn't afford a pap smear. That's not true. I just didn't make it a priority because I didn't feel like I needed it. Yeah. So started spotting. 2 close friends. One of my very best friends is a labor and delivery nurse. We were laying in my friend's pool. I floated up to her and I was like, hey, Mary. I was like, I've been spotting every day for a very long time. She was like, yeah, that sounds like cervical cancer. You should probably go to the doctor.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, and we laughed and I floated away. And then, and he had said multiple times, I really wish you would just go to the freaking doctor. And then October, I ran a race with a friend of mine who's a nurse practitioner. We were on our way home from the race. We ran out at Shelby Forest, so it's like a 45-minute drive on the way home, and we're just talking, and I was talking about just, I don't know what. And I said something about, I've been spotting. And she was like, Kristina, that same thing happened to me. And guess what? I had cervical cancer and I had to have a hysterectomy. You better go to the doctor.
Oh, wow.
So that was October. My birthday's November 4th. She called me that next week. My friend, her name is Katrina Blackard. And she said, have you made your appointment yet? And I was like, I'll make it right now. And I did. And Jenny immediately was like, I don't think this is going to come back normal. I'm just going to warn you.
Oh, wow.
Like she knew.
She knew.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that y'all are men and y'all don't understand this, but pap smears are uncomfortable.
Well, my wife has explained it. She's a nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
She got her background in women's health. So,
well,
have an idea, but I've never had one done.
Right.
Just saying.
So they're uncomfortable.
Yes.
This was painful.
Oh, wow.
Very painful. And I left the doctor and went to work, and I work in a salon with 18 people, and I walked in, I was like, I think I have cervical cancer. And of course, you have to know me. They're all like, stop it. I'm like, oh, I'm serious. I really do think I do. I just had a feeling.
Mm-hmm. What was that emotion like? Can you describe it? Because, I mean, it's like I could think about what I would maybe feel.
I don't really worry about things. So I was like, eh.
No fear, no panic.
When I walked in and said, I think I have cervical cancer, and I sounded like I was just kind of joking, I was being very serious. And I was just like, I mean, if it is, it is.
There's a big element in all this that we haven't even talked about yet, and that's the good Lord above.
Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
We have a faith that Kristina worded it this way one time, about you being blessed to be on this.
Yeah, I said I was lucky enough to be chosen to have cervical cancer.
I mean,
and it's like,
wow.
That is
that's a big statement.
The whole cliche, everything happens for a reason. It's a weird thing to say. Mm-hmm. But obviously we're here now because of this.
Yeah.
If a 18-year-old gets a regular pap smear because she watches this video, bam.
And I'll tell you what, there's been a dozen women in the salon that have literally scheduled their pap smears sitting in somebody else's chair because my coworker told them my story, and they're like, "Oh crap, I should probably schedule that."
I think if there was, if one piece of advice could come out of this entire thing, it's for women to get regular pap smears. Her doctor told us, looking in our eyeballs,
the oncologist, not Jenny, oncologist.
If you would have got regular pap smears, this wouldn't be happening because it starts with HPV, which almost everybody has. And HPV turns into cancer. Mm-hmm. So if they see it when it's HPV, then and they say it's not there January 1st, 2025, but they got HPV January 1st, 2026. That's not cancer yet.
Yeah, it's just abnormal cells. So HPV is a virus that can lay dormant for your whole entire life, or it can become active. And if it becomes active and it's not caught, it turns into cancer.
It turns into cancer. Yeah. So if you get them regular,
it can turn into cancer. It does, again. There's a bunch of different strains of HPV. That's a whole thing. But that's what happened. I didn't know that I had HPV, number one.
Yeah.
And not only did I not know I had it, but it was actively growing into cancer.
Yeah, so you got to get regular pap smears. But the reason she was like, I think I got cancer, is because we have faith in God. And there's not really, this sounds kind of egotistical, but there's nothing that we can't handle because of that.
Sure.
Not that we haven't cried.
Right.
Yeah, it's still scary. I mean, I wouldn't even say scary. I'm not scared. It's I have anxiety about it, I guess. The unknown, which even the biggest believers worry. We're not supposed to, but we do.
Mm-hmm. Can I say, I want to just kind of tie that together because I wanted to hear kind of both what y'all had to say on that, because this is the truth of it. Me, myself, I'm very faithful. I have great faith in God. And it's like this. I've used these types of comments in different types of podcasts. So it's kind of the same thing. So if somebody watches all the time, they've probably heard me say similar types of things here. But we don't wake up and ask, hey, God, can you give me some challenges to face? Right. I want these bad things to happen to me because I want to show the world what I can do with it. That's not what we do. But it's the idea that we know in our heart that if something does come our way, it's not our strength that's going to get us through. Mm-hmm. And so when you already have that in your mind, you already know that in your heart, that when something comes your way, and things can, and it doesn't matter who you are and what walk of life you have, there's no amount of money that can keep you from it. Things will come up. It's that thing that can keep us centered and founded is knowing that no matter what comes our way, we have a bigger, higher power that's going to be able to see us through. See, a person once told me this, and I understand the feeling. I do understand it's on a human level. They had a lot of stuff happen in their family, like way above the norm of, I say norm, I don't know what norm is, but a lot of stuff had happened. Mm-hmm. And they felt like they were being punished by God. Yeah. But what you just said actually is the mindset that they were being chosen by God. Mm-hmm. And we can go to the Bible and think about a lot of different moments like Job of people that were put in really tough spots over and over, but God was setting them up to use them as a strength model. Right. Now, obviously, I say obviously, but you correct me if I'm wrong on this. So I would think then that played into your decision to go public the moment you had the diagnosis. Would you say that was part of it? Yeah, and that was him. I wouldn't have come up with that idea. I'm the type A out of the relationship. She don't imagine. Even post pictures of her haircuts on her Instagram page. I'm like, you got to advertise. You got to, when someone comes in looking terrible. I post pictures of my watch when I ran 20 miles. But yeah, my thing was, if you tell people this, and again, I hate to keep simplifying it to regular pap smears, but at the very basic level, this could be fixed with regular pap smears. Look, I'm going to even say one other thing. So any type of a full physical, we should all, men and women, because you're going to catch things. When I got on the fire department, I didn't go to a regular annual checkup. You have to do a full physical every year as part of the fire department. And I can't tell you how many, thank God, nothing like a heart disease thing, but so many firemen, they found blockages and stuff, and they're like, hey, look, you were a ticking time bomb and saved their life. So I've already asked, I'm like, hey, I'm fixing to schedule you a colonoscopy, a prostate exam. He's like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm like, oh, that wasn't. I haven't had any of that stuff. And that seems like that's the wrong answer now. Yeah. Now it's on the air, and everybody in the world has seen this now. So you're really on the hot seat, 50, buddy. It's time. Yeah, trust me. It's not fun, but you're good at the fasting part. So 24 hours go by like that for you, man. For me, it was a struggle. Yeah. So here she comes in, she gives you the news. Now it's official. So you had an assumption that it probably was. She tells you it is. Yep. What's the next thought in your mind? And what do you guys discuss? I don't know. Because it goes from a thought to a reality. Right. So that's what I was about to say. It kind of faded into a reality, though, because people... Yeah, because I don't know if I ever, I think obviously at some point I was like, damn it, I have cancer. So... that sucks. But I never had this... We weren't sitting in a waiting room and somebody walked in with a piece of paper and said, I'm sorry to tell you, you have cancer. That's not how it happened. Mm-hmm. It was like this exam was like, the cells look abnormal. It don't look good. Go get this test. This test was like, I feel like that there's probably cancer in there. He did an exam. He's like, that looks like cancer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I started with Jenny. Jenny I did pap smear. I did something called a colposcopy, which is basically like a biopsy. She literally took pinches off of my cervix to biopsy them. That came back. She said, if this comes back, there's 3 levels. She was like, if this comes back level 3, I'm sending you to an oncologist. It came back level 3. She sent me to the oncologist. The oncologist spoke to me for a long time, I feel like. And he said, there's 3 boxes that I was looking for, and you checked all 3. And it was, haven't had a pap smear in 5+ years, bleeding with intercourse, and HPV. HPV type 16 was the type and he's like, and you checked all 3. So then he did an exam, and he was like, that's cancer. He literally was like, that looks like cancer. His eyeballs. He said that looks like cancer. Yeah. So for us, still chance of maybe not. I'm like, it looks like cancer. Could be, maybe not. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Yeah. So nobody ever said the words. Yeah. I'm sorry, but you have cervical cancer. It's also, the movies don't do it justice. It's also fast paced. You're so overwhelmed. You're getting all this information. He did that. And then he said, okay, now we need to do this procedure where I'm going to go in and I'm going to take out as much of it as I can. And he did the procedure, and I had to be put under general anesthesia. He called Juno right after it was over and said, I didn't get it all. She's going to need radiation. Okay. So then at that point, that was the first time that we knew for a fact that we're moving forward with cancer. I got to ask, I want to get a clarity on that. So you said they didn't get it all. Right. So I didn't even know that this is how naive I am to cancer. I didn't know it was a tumor. That's what it is, though. It grew into
a solid, I guess, mass, I think. I don't know. I might be wrong. I still don't really know. But okay. And he took out 7 centimeters, which if you've delivered children before, you were a paramedic, right? So you might know how big that is. He took out a 7 centimeter piece, and he did not get it all. He did not get clean margins, right? And so then he said, she's going to need radiation.
Is this in lieu of having a full hysterectomy?
Okay, so that was brought up later. I actually brought that I asked my doctor that. I said, is that an option? At the time, I was not interested in hysterectomy because I was thinking, I don't want to take out organs that work perfectly fine. Not that I'm going to use them. Like, I'm not planning on having any more children, obviously, but like, I wanted to keep my ovaries because I don't want to go into menopause, right? Well, then I found out that radiation is going to put me into menopause anyway because it's going to kill my ovaries.
Now that I did not know.
Yes. So I'm getting full pelvic radiation currently. So I'll have no more estrogen. Thankfully, I'll have Jenny to do hormone replacement therapy.
Yes.
But so when I found that out, I reached back out to my doctor and I was like, hey, is hysterectomy an option? Because originally I didn't want a hysterectomy. And every single woman I've come in contact, well, just have a hysterectomy. Just have a hysterectomy. Just have a hysterectomy. I'm like, why would I have a 6-week layup, which not that I would be laid up for 6 weeks, but they say that you need to be a full, a pretty serious surgery to remove organs that I don't need to have removed, right? When I would rather just kill the cancer.
So is that because I don't know. So this is like, I really have no idea. So are they saying that the radiation gives you like X percentage margin of success?
Yes. Okay. So me specifically, when I asked him about the hysterectomy, he explained to me that where my cancer is located it's not that it's not removable. It's that he said, number one, I would not qualify for a laparoscopic. So it would be like a full abdominal opening. At the time, we did not know if it was in my lymph nodes, which we have found out it is not. So that's fantastic. And he said, if I open you up, the first thing I'm going to do is test your lymph nodes. If they come back positive, I have to close you. He's like, so it would be me opening you for no reason. So I think he thought it was in my lymph nodes and he didn't want to have to do that. And then also he was like, I'm going to have to remove things that don't need to be removed, basically. So
that was kind of, in a way, I think, probably the message that you were saying. You're like, I don't want to remove stuff that I don't need to remove.
Right, exactly.
He kind of solidified that.
Right. And but originally he calls, right after my procedure and says, I didn't get it all. She's going to need radiation. Then we didn't hear anything for 2 weeks.
Oh, that's going to be torture. In my book, it would be.
So we finally go meet, not him, his nurse practitioner for like my follow-up. And she's like, you also need chemo. Because, again, at the time we didn't know if it was in my lymph nodes or not. They were thinking that it might be because, you have clusters of lymph nodes in your groin and that's where it is. It's
sure.
So mine has spread to what's called like the perimetrium area, which is basically like an open space in between the uterus and the pelvic wall. Right. And she was like, because it has started to spread in that, it like leans to the left or whatever. I'm stage 2B. Since I'm 2B, I need the chemo also.
And is this one of the cancers, stage 4? They have 4 stages of it?
I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2's good, totally treatable, obviously. If it would have been in my lymph nodes, it would have been bumped to stage 3. But again, I had a CT. It's not my lymph nodes. Praise Jesus for that. So it's all, again, I had just found out, I had cancer. I basically found out I legit had cancer on December 27th. That was the day of my procedure. Then we meet the nurse practitioner. She's like, you also need chemo. I'm not going to lose my hair.
How does that work?
The type of medicine I'm on doesn't make you lose your hair.
Interesting.
So that's great, of course. So that was I was so mad. That's my number. That's my emotion. It's pissed off. That's what I get. Like you can ask him. Like I don't cry. I don't. Like I get mad. Like I'm mad this whole time. I'm like mad that I have cancer. I'm pissed off at myself. It's my fault. You know what I mean?
That was on here. Is what emotion did you feel? Because everybody does have those grief, depression, to anger. And then eventually sometimes it's, acceptance. But
and I accepted it very quickly. I'm over it now. It is what it is. I'm not, me being upset about it, me having anxiety or worrying or being pissed or whatever about it doesn't change anything.
It doesn't, but it's normal.
So, absolutely. So found out I have to have chemo. And then I found out that I'm going to go into menopause. And that one really sent me over the edge. I was let me just tell you how upset I was. He's only sent me flowers once. And it was that day, the day after I found out I was going to go and lose my estrogen.
Yeah.
Because our bodies, every single organ system that we have relies on estrogen. So like my whole life's about to change and it's going to be hard, and I'm going to have to work. I'm going to have to make changes and do, and the 20-year-old in me still wants to have abs, and I'm really like, I don't want to gain weight, and I don't want to,
Sure.
that's
That's your thing.
Yeah.
So Juno, tell me a little bit about what your emotions are going through. Like, right. So you're hearing this stuff, and obviously as a supportive husband, you just heard, sent flowers. You're feeling this ride. You're on this ride with her.
Yeah. We both, again, we kind of eased into the diagnosis. It was like, this went bad, this doesn't look good, this doesn't look good, blah, 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 blah. Well, I don't know if we had told anybody until I posted Before Your Leap. Was that when I posted it on?
I think so.
I posted something on Facebook, blocked her from seeing it because I didn't want her to know that I was doing it. But I was like, Kristina's got a procedure tomorrow for cervical cancer. Just, some positive thoughts and prayers appreciated, blah, blah, blah. And so at that point, we're now saying cancer. We're not like, you got to have this done. We're saying she's got cancer. And we almost immediately just accepted it. I don't know how to describe it.
I would say you accepted the idea. You had a fight before you, and you were willing to take it.
We don't really dwell on like she was saying. There's nothing. What are you going to do except for go forward and deal with it?
My saying, I guess, is my 16-year-old. He's a 16-year-old, so he's, and he's always been emotional. He's the more emotional of the boys in our family. And he's had some issues with his father, and, and my thing is like, it doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It is. Like me having cancer is a big deal, but it doesn't have to really be that big of a deal. Like, you don't have to dwell on it. Like, you don't have to make it this huge thing. Like, it sucks. You deal with it and you move on.
That's so important.
That sounds, I don't know. Does it sound?
I don't mean to downplay the diagnosis, but
I don't think anybody's going to take it that way. And that's what I was about to point out, was so that's kind of the idea behind why I wanted you guys to come on the show, is because you are a beacon of hope and light. A person that gets this diagnosis, there's a lot of what we just talked about it. There's a lot of different types of emotions a person could go into, and blame, anger, depression. You get to a point where you can't see how tomorrow is going to be better. And it takes the idea that this is where we are. Now let's move forward and see what we can do about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's immediately where you went to. And the faster a person gets to that point, the faster they can start to make strides. Now, look, there are no guarantees in life. Right. Just like you even said earlier when you were talking about the will. And full disclosure, I'm 51 and I live recklessly. It's just the way it works. And I don't have a will, and I'm admitting it. I need to get that thing done. But I think that we do fall into a sense of, well, that can last till tomorrow because I'm going to live today. But you see how fast everything in your life can be flipped, turned, changed in a different direction.
Yeah.
And it's not lost on me as a paramedic. I saw it all the time.
Yeah.
But we just get stuck in our ways of how we're living our life. Well, whenever something comes your way that you never expected, you didn't anticipate, and you didn't have a plan beforehand, you got to really hit the reset. And that's what you guys did. And the thing that I loved was that I immediately saw you could recognize the value of sharing the step-by-step process with the rest of the world, because how many people right now are going to see or hear this podcast that they're sitting in fear and the unknown, and they don't even know how to move forward, and they can't wrap their head around being positive about it. But they're seeing how you guys are saying, hey, look, we didn't like it. We don't want this, but we're also about to fight. We're not giving up on it.
Here's an analogy. When your car breaks down, which happened to us recently, my car breaks down. So for a few days, I have to take her to work and pick her up from work. So our life changed. Now, it changed like this, but the car broke down. So I have to take her to work and pick her up from work. So we quickly shifted into, How do I get you to work? And we did it. This is bigger than that, but it's the same thing.
You just got to adjust.
And thankfully, you know, they say opposites attract. He's very easygoing in that sense. I'm definitely the worrier, the type A, the planner, I want things to go a certain way. And after being with him for over a decade, he has lessened that in me, which I'm glad, because that's
balance.
Yeah. So, you know, I am a planner, and I do like, you know, he doesn't get it because of his schedule. Yeah. I'm a hairdresser. My day is scheduled.
That's great sense.
My day is scheduled down to the minute almost. You know what I mean? So my life is that way. And it still is. Even with chemo and radiation. I have radiation every morning at 8:45.
That was one of my questions I had coming up was how often, no, I'm glad you're going there. How often do you have to go for radiation?
So I have radiation every day, Monday through Friday, for 25 days.
How long is the session?
It takes me maybe 15 minutes. I'm in and out. I literally go in, lay down, they zap me, and I leave. Can
you describe what that is like? So what are they doing exactly?
Okay, so I had to have what's called a planning session or a mapping session, where I had to go in.
This is interesting.
Yeah. So I had to have, first off, I have to have a full bladder every morning. She wants me to have a full bladder. This is my radiologist, Methodist University, Lillian Rinker, and I love her. She's so sweet. She full bladder. She's always, every time I see her, she's like, full bladder, because she's like that full. She says the bladder is a little bit more resilient, and she said the full bladder like pushes the lower intestine kind of up out of the way, and she's like, we don't want to damage any of that, you know.
And I saw in one of your videos that you had too full of a bladder the first time.
Yes. So that was interesting. So I have my planning session, right? So I go in, I have to have a full bladder. They take all these images. They literally give me little tattoos. Like they give you tattoos to show, because the radiology techs, it's just a dot. But the radiology techs have to line up everything with those dots every day, right? And so I get all these images, and then funny enough, 2 weeks later, they call me. They're like, Miss Avent, your bladder was too full. I'm like, oh my gosh. So how am I supposed to gauge that, right?
That's a good question.
I know, it is. And we met with her. I meet with her on Tuesdays. We met with her this past Tuesday, and she said, your bladder's really impressive. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, again, I'm a hairdresser and a runner. So I'm used to holding it, I guess. She was like, yeah, it was like up to your belly button. I was like, wow, okay. So I have to go every morning with the full bladder. And I go in. It's so easy. I go in, I go put a gown on, I lay on the table. They adjust the table to where it needs to be, and they look at my tattoos and line everything up where it needs to be. And I lay there, and these things spin around me and zap me, and then I leave. And there's been twice that they stopped and came in and said, your bladder's not full enough, drink some water, because they can see the imaging on the screens while they're doing it.
Is it a version of like an MRI? Is it a thing that spins around you?
Kinda. It's not like a big circle. It's like individual pieces like this. Okay. It's like, I don't know. But she also told us when we met on Tuesday, which was, I didn't know this about myself. She was like, you're actually kind of a difficult case because you don't have any visceral fat. So we can't see your organs. She was like, the radiology techs have a hard time determining what's your uterus and what's your bladder. Because you don't, when you have visceral fat, there's like a literal outline in the imaging, you know? And I was like, I mean, I know I'm skinny, but
visceral
I didn't know.
Fat is bad, by the way.
Yeah. I'm sure I've got plenty of that.
I do too.
Yeah. It's in there.
So, anyway, so that was cool to learn.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Well, me and him are geeky. Like we ask all the questions. We like to know all the things.
Now, I appreciate that personally as a medical individual. Yeah, I definitely want to dig in.
I actually asked, and most doctors don't like it when you ask questions. They take that as kind of a hit on their ego. Like they think that you know more than them.
In this day and age, I think they all think that we've looked up something on WebMD.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
And so they don't like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't care what they like.
Oh. Yeah. No, this is your journey, baby. You got to be your own advocate.
So radiation's every day, Monday through Friday, 8:45 a.m. I go in, they zap me, I leave. And that's the one that I think is going to affect me the most side effect-wise.
Okay, because I've seen some of your videos afterwards. You mentioned that you feel drunk or high.
That was chemo.
that was chemo.
Yes, the radiation. It's messed up my stomach a little bit, and the fatigue that she has said she was like, the fatigue is what it's going to get you. And I can feel it at the end of the day for sure.
Yeah.
I'm still running, still working out, not like I was. I'm not working out 6 days a week. I'm not, but I am still. I'm working out 4 days a week, and I'm lifting and I'm running still, but I definitely can tell that I'm not as energized as I was.
How long do you have to do radiation for, like, what span?
Okay, so that is 25 days. So I'll be done with that's what's called external radiation. I'll be done with at the end of March. And then comes the fun part. This one is I don't even want to think about it yet because I'm anxious and nervous and I don't know what I am. I guess anxious. I have to have 4 weeks of internal radiation. So it's very localized, which is a good thing. That means whatever she is going to, she's going to give me an MRI at the end of March after I'm done with chemo and radiation. If everything goes according to plan, I will be done with chemo and radiation in March. That last Friday of March, I'll be done. And then I'm going to get an MRI, and she's going to see how much it has shrank.
And I like either of those. We're in Mississippi.
I'm from Horn Lake. I can't help it.
Oh, girl, me too. It's all of us.
And so she's going to look at it, and then I have the internal radiation. The internal radiation, if I remember correctly, goes as follows. It's once a week, and I'll be there all day, allegedly. I go in. They have to put me under anesthesia.
Oh, wow. I did not know this.
They have to surround my cancer with devices of some sort. Then I wake up from anesthesia, and I will have wires hanging out of me. And then they will attach those wires to a machine, and that machine will send, it's called brachycardia. Oh, I have it written down.
It's okay.
It sends pellets to that.
Basically, it's this archaic in my mind anyway. I'm sure it's.
It could be cutting edge.
I'm sure it's very technologically advanced, but I picture freaking, you see those old pictures of drawings of people getting lobotomies and all these things.
With the wires hanging off of them.
And it's like, that's what they're going to do to her in 2025.
Well,
yeah, something
may be working. So will your side effects be different?
From that? Yeah. I don't know.
They didn't give you a heads up on it?
No, we haven't. She may have, and I may have not. I may have honestly blocked it out because I'm worried about right now. I'll worry about that later. Yeah. I thought about, she likes to talk, my radiologist. I thought about talking to her about that, but I was like, I'm just going to wait. I need to worry about external radiation first, and I'll worry about internal radiation when it gets here.
That's the best way to do it, piece by piece, one step at a time. It's interesting that you said that you blacked out, because that's kind of been one of the stories that I've gotten from friends and family that have had that diagnosis. They said the moment they hear that, they don't really hear a lot of anything else the doctor says for the next several minutes. It's just kind of like numb.
Well, okay. It's funny that you say that because we record everything. And that specific doctor, who I love, by the way, my radiologist, we were talking and it got brought up that he was recording the conversation, and she froze. And she kept going, "I'm so sorry. I can't really talk now that I know that he's recording me." And
when we go into a doctor's office, I open my voice memo and hit record and just set my phone down.
It's completely legal, by the way, just so anybody out there that knows that, it's completely legal.
And he, being a gentleman, was like, "I'm so sorry. Do you want me to stop recording?" I was like, whoa. I'm like, "Ma'am, I apologize, but he's not going to stop recording because I'm stressed out right now. You're giving me all this information, and I'm going to want to reference."
We talked for an hour.
Yeah.
You ain't going to remember that.
It's called brachytherapy. Sorry, I just
brachytherapy. No, I'm glad you
did. A type of cancer treatment where radioactive material is placed inside the body near or in a tumor. So that's what I have to have.
So literally going right next to it.
4 of those, once a week for 4 weeks. So, yep.
And then after that, it's just checkups to see where you are.
Let me say this.
I don't know.
This is I don't know if you have this, because we haven't really mentioned this on our videos yet. She's doing a ton of other things that could possibly cure it without radiation and chemo. I don't want to get into that whole medical argument. But she's doing fasting. She's doing berberine. She's doing low sugar diet. She quit drinking beer. She's doing, she's taking ivermectin. Do you want to talk about all this?
Yeah,
Quick question on that, though.
Red light therapy.
Do you run that through the doctors? Or do you just, are you
I
just
haven't told them I'm taking ivermectin, though, because I'm sure that they would be like.
I was just curious how much of that you were like in tune with. Now, I will say before you go into this, I just will say, though, that cancer feeds on sugar. That's a fact. Yeah. So
no
cutting sugar out of your diet as much as you possibly can
and
definitely helps.
And I've obviously, I'm not an expert by any means. I don't want anyone to ever think that I think I am, because I'm not. I just know that glucose is cancer's number one fuel source. Our body's number one fuel source is glucose. So you have to have glucose in your body. Like that. Yes. That's you know. But I've cut out. I drink beer. I drink. That's my. I think, and I quit drinking. I'm like, because obviously, I have a limit. The only sweetener that I take in now is monk fruit, which is doesn't spike your blood sugar. There's no glucose response to that. And it's, again, it may not be doing anything, but it might be. And I'm not gonna not, and with the fasting, like I've always fasted, but now my research has switched to what does fasting do cancer wise. The benefits of fasting surrounding your chemo days are astronomical. I've had the first chemo day, what you were speaking of, I felt kind of loopy, drunk, but I went to work the next day and I felt fine. I had chemo this past Thursday.
So the type of fasting that I think would, again, I have to say also, we're not experts anywhere near.
I appreciate the disclaimer, but in the end, here's the deal. I don't think anybody would misunderstand what you are saying. You're talking about what you are doing, what your choices are, which, by the way, that's the beauty of being your own individual. Right. You get to make choices about your life, which I'm fully 100% all on board with. And you're not telling other people what they need to do. You're talking about what you're doing. And then even backing that up with, we'll see what works for me. Right. And I think that sharing that part of the story, not saying you need to this, but rather than this is what I did and this is what worked or didn't work. Yeah. That's very resourceful. Yeah. That's a good thing.
So the fasting for chemo is more for, to prevent side effects. Yeah. The type of fasting that could kill cancer is like, 10-day fast.
I mean, your body can create stem cells. So like you can if you have an injury and you do a 3-day water fast, you can heal yourself. You can literally make your injuries go away.
This is getting back to the fasting conversation, but when you don't eat, your body is like, hey, he's not eating. What do we need to do? And it starts to fix itself.
Go back to the hunting. If you're injured and you haven't eaten in a week, your body's like, hey, we should fix that knee issue of his so he can go kill something to feed his family.
Yeah, that is 100% fact. In the point of your body has a backup system to a backup system. As a paramedic, that's one of the things that I was always really, truly fascinated by was whenever one individual's ailment would flare up, then there would be other systems kick in and knowing what each thing was responsible for. That helps you be a better practitioner. Being a healthy-minded individual, knowing what the fuel source is that you're putting in your body, it's huge. But that takes self-discipline, that takes work, that takes intentionality.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. I mean, you know how hard it is to get on a diet.
Sure.
Just you're healthy, you don't have any problems, and you're overweight. You want to start eating better. That's hard.
Sure it is.
So the changes that she's made since this,
huge.
Hard doesn't begin to describe it. And so when we get through this, hopefully, and she can say all this stuff that we're saying now times 4 more weeks or whatever it is, we'll be able to say she did this and she did this and she did this and she had a headache this day. She was really tired this day, but for 8-9 weeks of radiation and chemo, she came out.
And this is the results.
And obviously there's no way to know. There's no way to know if me fasting and eating the way I'm eating is going to help shrink my tumor or if it's going to help me feel good the whole time. There's no way to know because I'm not going to do a study because I'm not going to not fast because I felt so good. I fasted for 45 hours my first chemo day because I felt so good. I was like, I'm doing that every week. I don't care. I'll fast for, longer if I have to feel that good again because they're like, all they keep saying is nausea, vomiting, nausea, vomiting, nausea, vomiting. I'm like, I can't cut hair if I'm throwing up. I've got to keep my energy up, so.
Also, let me say this. It's interesting to me that through all of these diagnoses and all of the doctors, nobody has mentioned glucose being a factor. Mm-hmm. Nobody has said, by the way, I know we're doing radiation and chemo, but if you fast for, over 18 hours, 24 hours, as far as you can go, that'll benefit you, blah, 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 blah. Also, nobody has said any of that stuff. At her chemo treatments,
she literally said,
they're walking around giving people Cokes and Doritos and crackers. And I'm like,
yeah, it's
what are you doing? Like that.
Well,
snacks are fine
because they have a mindset of you need to eat, you need to nourish your body. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, nourish your body with a steak or chicken.
So,
or
Juno,
an apple.
Let me tie that together though with just the idea that most people, I don't want to say all, but a lot of people, they don't really. There's not a conscious effort towards their diet. Okay. Most people. Right. There obviously is a large portion of people that are, but when you're looking at the spectrum of how many humans are on this earth, they just get up, they go through the day, and whenever they're hungry, if they have that opportunity, because I understand there are people that don't have that opportunity, they go hungry all the time. I get it. But those individuals, it's a necessity. They do it, or they do it out of pleasure, or they do it out of habit, whatever that is that they're eating. And so to have a conscious effort towards their diet is usually not a part of their equation. Well, that's not lost on nurses and doctors and everybody else. They live that same kind of lifestyle. So that connectivity of your diet plus what your treatments are, plus what your diagnosis is, it's not in line. It's not a straight line like that. So I don't think it's egregious all the time. I think it's just, they don't know. They don't think about it that way.
And the thing is that people don't like to do hard things.
They don't.
And when you do hard things, it makes hard things easier. Mm-hmm. So, you run a marathon is hard. You fast for 2 days, that's hard. And it takes time to build up the stamina or the metabolic health to do it, But once you do it, it becomes easier. The more you do it, it becomes easier. And when you do hard things, then that makes, like I said, it makes the hard things easier. So.
I had a guest that kind of, he echoes what you're saying there. He said that, if I was going to build an arcade character of myself, would I give them an easy path and an easy life, or would I give them a hard path and a hard life? Because if I want my arcade character to be really strong and really tough and have a great ability, I'm going to give them the hard path. Yeah. You take the easy path and it doesn't take a lot to tear you down. So you guys said that's part of what I hope I did with this story. I hope I did it justice of building y'all's background and where you came from and why that you had some of that mindset. And I think that the intentionality to life that y'all both carry as it is plays into that. Now, here you are, you're into the fight. You've gone you're looking at what your treatments are going to be. You're taking some proactive role to it. I didn't know if you wanted to add something more to that. I didn't want to cut you off on it.
Okay. I think,
okay. And so coming out of this now, I'm asking this question, but it's almost rhetorical because of the fact that I know that y'all took this public immediately, which, by the way, is why I felt comfortable reaching out to you guys. I was like, you know what? If they want to expand this message and hopefully reach a lot of folks with this thing, I hope that I can add some value on that. Yeah. And how do you see your journey now being bigger than you? Because in my opinion, Motivate with Coach Camp, I say it all the time, the with is the thing that's important because it ain't about me. It's about us. It's the community. We're stronger when we're together. When we share our journey with someone else, we'll give them tools to put in their toolbox. So how do you see now going forward, how much bigger this is than Kristina and Juno?
I'm going back to the simplifying it and having women and girls getting regular pap smears. I can't.
Absolutely. 100%. But I have a hard time thinking that anyone's interested. Why would anyone be interested in me? Like he recorded a video of us the other night. I was like, don't post that. I look like a dumbass. I'm like, I sound like a dumbass. I'm uneducated. Nobody cares about me. And all I can think is, nobody cares about me. Nobody cares about little old me, which I know that people care. I have such a huge support system, and I'm so thankful for it. I mean, from the minute he posted whatever he posted before my procedure, it's just been nonstop. And I know the prayers are there, and I'm so thankful.
Kristina, can I add something to this?
Yeah.
I say this 100% having lived it so many times. so many times. It's so easy to get caught in our own minds, feeling like maybe what we're doing is self-serving. Maybe what we're doing is putting ourselves or our needs or our problems in front of someone else's. When what I found was when I shared my struggles with others, not in a way of, hey, I need you to pat me on the back and tell me how sorry you are for me. But these are the things I went through. This is how it affected me. This is what I've done to come out of it, or sharing other people's stories. Man, there have been, I can't even tell you how many times someone's reached out to me, called me, texted me, sent me an email, said, I needed to hear that. I needed to know that thing that person was going through, whether it was just recently had a couple folks on that were paraplegics, and just seeing their struggle, but now where they've come out at, that, my friend, is the whole circle. Yeah. It's important for us to struggle, and it's important for us to strive. We need to hit that whole thing, but it never comes full circle until we share.
Right.
The struggle and the strive is only so much. The share is how we all come together. So what you're doing, and I appreciate the humility, I do, but you're also being extremely vulnerable with yourself. You're putting it out there. And
I'm not good at that.
That may be so, but that's what people appreciate.
Well,
they appreciate that it's real, it's authentic.
I want to say that, obviously we're believers, and I do wholeheartedly believe that everything happens for a reason, that God's in control. So me personally, I feel like the Lord is trying to bring me closer to Him, help me bring someone else closer to Him. That's what I think is the end goal here, because that's what I've always wanted, is that relationship to be the number one most important thing in my life. I've always craved that relationship with Christ, but I've never made it the priority that I should have. And now I want that even more, and I want to help other people see that, a cancer diagnosis is God saying, like, hey, don't forget about me. I'm right here.
Yeah.
And so,
but non-believers see it as the other way around.
Yeah.
They can, or it's just also sometimes a human nature to feel sorry and to feel like you're a victim of something. And I always say that, you can be victims of circumstances, but you choose to stay there. You can choose to move on. And that faith base is where, a lot of times you find the strength to move on, depending on what the problem is. So here's what I want to ask you guys as we get to the end here. Clearly, you've started this journey. You're gonna share this with the rest of the world. This is not something that probably comes and goes quickly. There's going to be years and years that you're going to be able to recap on this, and your story it's going to impact folks. And you got to know that there's a reason and a purpose behind it, which you've already said. It is going to have a huge, huge impact on this. I'm going to ask y'all, what would you share with somebody right now? I'll ask you, and then I'll come to you for the final on this question here. What would you tell somebody out there if they are facing cancer right now? What's some of the first things you would do?
I think people underestimate how much food is killing people. The quality of the food, the amount of food. Somebody asked me at a casino, hey, I want to start carnivore. What do I need to do? I was like, first thing you need to do is forget that there's the concept of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's like somebody made that up. That's not a thing. So eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. As far as this goes, I guess I would just I would do research and do exactly what she's doing.
Well,
I mean, it's she's done, in my opinion, she's done everything. Of course, somebody else could do it different, and I would think that would also be good. But eating better, fasting, having somebody that you can
support system,
talk to about it, because just even this has been interesting to me. Because again, we're in it.
Yeah.
So she was like, what's he going to ask us? I said, I have no idea.
Sometimes I don't know.
I didn't know what Derek was going to ask us whenever we did that one. And it was like, it just happened.
Yeah.
And so same thing with this, you've got your questions, but talking about this is big.
Yeah. It is cathartic. Big. It's therapeutic.
Yeah.
And that's the sharing part.
Yeah.
That's the full circle part. So, Kristina, what would you share with somebody to keep them encouraged? Are there like groups you can go to,
That's
resources?
What I was gonna say. I think my number one thing would be find somebody, find people, whoever it may be. I'm so blessed in the sense of obviously Juno is amazing. I'm still very close with high school friends. Like my best friend from high school, she's still my best friend. Like for 20-something years. Like that I know that happens, but it don't happen very often. So I'm very thankful for her, of course. My family, but Salon Haven is my saving grace.
Okay.
And it's just amazing. I'm surrounded by loving, caring women that pray for me every single day. Every single day. I wake up every single day to text messages. I love you. I prayed for you this morning. I love you. I'm praying for you. I love you. I'm praying for you. And they're my sounding board, and they're my, they're the people I bounce my emotions off of. Like we joke about it. I'm like, y'all are my
all therapists.
Y'all are my husband,
the work husbands.
Because I'm when I'm pissed off, because that's my go-to emotion. I take it out on them, and I'm like, sorry, I'm in a bad mood, and they're like, it's fine. I'm going to pray for you. That's what they do. But they have softened me to an extent, which is good. I needed that, and they have taught me. So I work with a bunch of 20-year-olds, and I've learned so much from them. I work with older women too, but younger girls too. So, but yeah, I think that would be my number one piece of advice is to, whether it be like DeSoto Hope, they're a great organization. They're for women that don't have the answers or don't know who to reach out to or don't know what to do. Do you know about them?
I don't.
Okay, so DeSoto Hope is fairly new, if I'm not mistaken, nonprofit. So
I think probably find them on Facebook, I imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my coworker Angela McCaleb actually is in her second round of breast cancer at the moment, and it's she's fighting a much bigger battle than I am, like much bigger, and she's very, very known in the area. And she was the first recipient of a DeSoto Hope basket. So they bring you a basket, and it has electrolyte packets and aspirin and lozenges and anything that you can imagine that you would need while going through cancer treatment. And it's the kind of thing where like not everybody's as blessed as me and has 17 coworkers and a close group of girlfriends and a husband and children that are involved in my in-laws. Like not a lot of people have that, right?
Yeah.
And so if you don't have that, the sort of hope is you would reach out to them and they help you. They give you names of doctors and therapists and pelvic floor therapists and, just whatever you need, because you need people.
You need a circle.
Yes.
You need some people in your backyard with you.
I'm really good at like being like, I'm fine.
Community
is
very important.
I can handle this by myself.
And that's that type A coming out. That, you know what, I'm good. I'll tell you, look, I think a lot of people that are strong-willed, and you have strong will, obviously doing marathons and stuff, it's hard to ask for help.
Yeah.
It's hard to feel like that you need someone else to help you get to that next thing. But it's so important that you do. And I appreciate you guys coming on here and sharing your very intimate, personal, fresh. I mean, this is how long ago? So you said December 27th?
December 27th was my procedure. So yeah, December.
It's very, very fresh.
She's had, 7 radiations?
7 radiations.
7 out of 25.
2 chemos. 7 radiations, 2 chemos.
Yeah, she just started radiation
and a partridge
2
and
weeks
pear
ago.
tree.
Yeah. So it's very fresh, and you guys are you're in the thick of the storm, as you might say, and just great advice. And in the end, I think that, whatever your journey ends up becoming, whatever that is, people are going to get strength from that. They're going to be able to, whatever their cancer journey might be, they're going to find some angle that they'll be able to help with. So if somebody would reach out to you and say, hey, Kristina, could you help me with something? Is that something they could do?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can they find you guys? Because I know y'all are all over the place.
Physically or on social media?
No, social media. Social media, sorry. Not at your house. I would not say go to their house, knock on the door. Yeah, no, not that. So social media stuff.
Yeah, just Kristina Skidmore Avent is my Facebook.
Kristina with a K.
Yeah. Kristina with a K.
Okay.
Avent, Avent. And then Instagram, I'm on there as well. And
y'all do TikToks?
He does the TikTok.
Okay.
I scroll the TikTok. I don't post.
All of my socials are just Juno Avent. I think my TikTok is Juno_Avent, but
Juno Juno. I'll put all that, of course, in the notes on the
yeah, but it's
on the
just
show.
Juno Avent everywhere. YouTube, everything.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I know folks are going to be following you guys. I know I'm going to be following you as I have been. And I just thank you both so much for coming on. Is there anything you would like to say as we wrap up?
I appreciate you inviting us. This has been
Yeah,
fun.
thanks.
I've been nervous.
Really?
I told everybody at work today, I was like, I'm going to sound like a redneck dumbass.
There's no
You
doubt.
had me on here, so you're good. That's the beauty of
got
having
three
me
Horn
here.
Lake graduates
Man,
here.
look, we're representing up in here. Well, I appreciate you guys so much, and if I can ever do anything to help y'all, please let me know.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. To all my listeners out there, I want to tell you guys, thank you for tuning in each and every week. I'm going to ask you right now, go to my website, motivatewithcoachcamp.com, subscribe to my YouTube, and until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape,